options coordinator working with adults with Eastern Iowa Community College. I'm located at our downtown Davenport urban campus. So welcome. I'm going to let Miss Erica introduce herself. We're going to give you some info about our guest today. And again, we're glad that you're here. So thanks for being here this morning.
Yes, it's so nice to see all of your smiling masked faces. I'm going to guess that you're smiling under those masks. So my name's Erica Ewert. I'm what's called an intermediary. I am the connector of business and industry with middle and high school students to provide work-based learning opportunities. So the job shadows, site visits, wonderful career fairs like we're doing right now. So anything that's going to help you gain a little bit more insight into a career, you can reach out to your counselor or reach out to me directly. Again, thank you so much for being here. And if you don't mind just putting your grade level and what school you're with in the chat, we'd really appreciate it.
Awesome. So this morning we have Chef Tessa Crookshanks currently serving with us. She's the executive chef at the Merrill Hotel that's located in Muscatine. She has worked in the culinary industry since the age of 16, and she's got over 16 years of experience. She spent time working in country clubs, hotels, bakeries, grocery stores, as well as locally owned restaurants. Tessa graduated with honors from Cordon Bleu Chicago in 2010. She was awarded Hostmark Hospitality Group's Culinary Leader of the Year in 2019, as well as the Hero of the Year in 2020. So welcome, Tessa. We're going to see a short video and then we will let you get started. Very cool video. I need to make a visit to Muscatine. Tessa, you are welcome to go ahead and get started. To the students and staff out there, just a quick reminder, if you could just put in the school that you're from in the chat, that would be great. And as Tessa is presenting, excuse me, we'd love for you to put any questions or anything in the chat, and I'll keep an eye on that as well. So go ahead, Tessa. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good morning. I'm Chef Tessa Crookshanks, and as you saw, I work for the Merrill Hotel in Muscatine, Iowa. We are a 122-room hotel situated right on the river in Muscatine. I see 3 students. Have either of the 3 of you ever been to Muscatine before? No? Okay.
You guys can wave or give a thumbs up or thumbs down too. Use your reactions. It's all good.
No? Okay. Well, we're a town of a city of about 30,000 people that live here. So we're very small. And we have this beautiful facility right on the river. We like to call it our Pearl of the Mississippi. But we are a tribute portfolio hotel by Marriott, which is really, really cool because Marriott is the global leader in the hotel industry. So there are Marriott properties all over the world, which is especially cool for someone like me. Should I ever decide to leave my hometown of Muscatine, I have tons of opportunity for growth just in the hotel group that I work for. So that's really cool. Like I mentioned before, we have 122 guest rooms. We have a full service New American restaurant. We're open 365 days a year for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And we are a AAA accredited 4-star hotel. We are ranked the number 20 hotel in the entire United States, according to TripAdvisor. So that is based off of real guests that stay with us and rate us on their experience. We are also rated the number 1 hotel in the state of Iowa by the US News and World Report. We have a rating of 4.8 out of 5 on Marriott.com and 4.7 out of 5 on Google reviews. I'm very, very proud to work where I work. We have a beautiful facility. I work with a crew of about 80 people. There's 80 total people that work on our property. And I'm just surrounded by rock stars all the time. So it's really, really cool. I am responsible entirely for overseeing all food and beverage operations for this whole property. That includes the banquet service to our conference center, which is located on the top floor of our hotel. That beautiful big room with all those nice tables, that is what we refer to as our grand ballroom. And that is where we host most of the weddings that we do here. We also have, on the 6th floor, we also have 14 different meeting and event spaces. So we can pull walls to make one room 3 different rooms. There's 14 total rooms upstairs, which means there's 14 events that could be happening simultaneously. So I am responsible for making sure that all food and all beverage, everything regards to that is executed as flawlessly as possible. So no pressure, right? Let's see, Maxwell's on the River, our restaurant, has 126 seats. So it's not a small restaurant by any stretch of the imagination. And I'm responsible for not only the menu writing and the pricing, but I develop all of our feature dishes. We try and keep things new and exciting all the time to keep people wanting to come back for more. I write schedules for a culinary team of 8 to 12 people. I control all of the food and beverage costs for all of the different places where we work, whether it be on the 6th floor or on the 1st floor in the restaurant. Let's see, what else? I also am responsible for forecasting our revenue and costs. So I think the easiest way to explain that is that on a weekly basis, I have to make my most educated guess on how much money we're going to make and how much money we're going to spend to keep everything in check. And so when we do that, we're able to kind of be ahead of the curve as far as like profit and loss statements and be able to react financially a lot quicker than waiting until the end of the month. So that's an ongoing process that happens all the time. I'm also involved in writing our annual budget, which is just about as much fun as it sounds. But it really helps lay out the next year. And this was especially difficult and important after what happened in 2020. So the food and beverage and hospitality industry were some of the hardest hit industries by the pandemic. So that has been a huge learning opportunity for me. Let's see. All the food that we get in, anything perishable, I'm responsible for ordering, rotating properly, and controlling the waste that comes with those things. So that is a little bit about what I do. Before I keep going, does anybody have any specific questions that you would like me to answer as we get going here?
So I have a question for you, Tessa. I'm guessing that our ladies and gentlemen in the group have an interest in hospitality and or culinary. That's why they joined us. Sounds like you've been in the industry for a while. Can you tell us a little bit about, did you have somebody that you knew? Like what got you started in it? And tell us a little bit how you got started and maybe some pros and cons of what you're doing. It sounds like you're very busy.
Yes,
for sure.
Which is a pro and a con, I think. So my experience and the experiences that led me to my career path, I like to describe them as very non-typical. And the reason why I say that is because I knew from a very, very young age what I wanted to do. So I think I was 8 years old the first time that I said to my mom, I want to be a chef. And it just doesn't happen like that for everybody. For most people, it doesn't happen that way. But that's what I said. And then when I grew up, nothing really changed. I still wanted to be a chef. So as soon as I was old enough to get a job, in my area, most places wouldn't hire you if you were under 16. At the age of 15, I was really looking for a job. I'm very proud to say that my very first job was actually at our McDonald's. So I started in the fast food industry, and now work in more of a fine dining environment. So I worked there from the age of 15 to 16. And then when I was 16, my high school had a job shadow program. I don't know if they still do that in your high school now, but we had a choice of 3 different career paths that we could choose to do a job shadow for. And we were advised not to repeat them. I wrote chef, chef, chef for all 3 of my choices. And that led me to a locally owned restaurant at the time. So I did, I think it was a 5 or 6 hour job shadow. And at the end of it, I walked up to the executive chef there at the time and I said, I really want a job here. And he said, well, when can you start? And that's kind of how my whole career started was with a high school job shadow. So it was really, really cool. I worked at that restaurant from the age of 16 to 18. And then I got into our local country club at the age of 18 as a line cook. Decided after 3-4 years of working in the industry that I wanted to become accredited and I wanted to go to college for it. So at the age of 18, I moved to Chicago all by myself. Very life-changing experience. It was a little scary, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know anybody there at all. And a week after I moved to Chicago, I started classes. My program was very accelerated, so I received a 2-year degree in 1 year. We went to school 5 days a week. Our classes started at 6 o'clock in the morning, which allowed for me to have a night job, which was really nice. And then when I graduated, I moved back to Muscatine, and I got my first sous chef position, which was my first management position at the age of 19. And I stayed with the country club for the next 5 or 6 years. And eventually the position of executive chef opened up when I was about 23. And I was selected to continue to lead the country club's food and beverage team. And then from there, I have made my way to the Merrill. So I've been here for about 2 years. December, I think, was 2 years. Yeah, so I had 1 full year and then 2020 happened. And then I started to learn a whole bunch of new hard life lessons. But the experience has been invaluable. So that's kind of how I got started. Pros and cons, I think, is one of the other things that you asked about. So I've got a whole bunch of notes here. Let me find my spot.
You're fine. I just want to mention while you're looking, Tessa made a really valid point, ladies and gentlemen. Most of you, I know some of you are juniors, 16, 17 years old. Very few people have tunnel vision and know exactly what they want to do. And if you do, like Tessa, that's fantastic. But just know it's okay to do a lot of this and change your mind and try out different things, because most of us kind of go like this and choose different things and find out something we like. So the fact that you guys are interested in this and joining us, it's fantastic. It's a great way to get information, expose yourself to things and see if it might be a good or a right fit for you. So I think that that's really important to realize. You don't have to know today, but it's awesome that you guys are starting to think about it. And Erica can absolutely connect you with. Tessa spoke about internships or job shadowing. Erica can absolutely do that and work closely with you and your school and your counselors and your teachers to help you find some of those opportunities, to give you that exposure to see, is this a great career for me?
Exactly. You can either reach out to your counselor at DeWitt, or you can reach out to me specifically. And you can just say, hey, I think I'm interested in hospitality. I'd like to talk to somebody like Chef Tessa, or, maybe I want to do more of a hotel management. Maybe I want to do a different role in hospitality, and doing informational interviews. So like asking those kinds of questions, or doing a job shadow, doing a site visit, really helps you distinguish, yes, I really want to do this, or maybe, no, I really don't want to do this. So yeah, we're here to help you with whatever you may need.
Some of the challenges that I face in my career, the more recent ones are staffing. Right now with the current job market, it's very difficult to find people to fill our staff rosters. So if you are looking for an intern level job, now's the part where I'm supposed to tell you that we're hiring. And we just redid our entire wage structure in my department to allow people with little to zero food and beverage experience to join our team. So keep that in mind. The hours typically associated with my job are a little bit longer. I don't work anything close to a 9 to 5. I generally work 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Right now, about 6 days a week. Usually it's closer to 5. But anytime that, I lead the entire food and beverage department. So anytime that we're low on staff, it's up to someone like me and our other management team to step up and move forward with everything. Another challenge is, it doesn't really seem like a challenge to me anymore, probably because I'm so used to it, but I don't get like your typical holidays off. So I've been doing this pretty much my entire adult life. So my family is very used to the fact that I'm not there on Christmas morning. I'm usually making brunch for 300 or so people. Mother's Day, I'm doing brunch for everybody else's mom, and I don't get to do the fun things for my mom. But like I said, it's been going on for so long that we found different ways to celebrate as a family. It just usually doesn't happen on the day of the actual holiday. So it's really not that big of a deal to me. And then probably the other thing that is the hardest is just spending a long time on my feet. Again, it's something that I'm really, really used to, but it's definitely taught me to take care of not only my mental health, but also my physical health. I buy really nice shoes to keep my feet from hurting and things like that. And the things that I love the most about my career and my job are, I think the number one thing is that I have the opportunity to serve other people and make other people happy, whether that be through, guest service, customer service, or the food that actually hits somebody's table. But I found that we were able to create experiences for people that a lot of the time are unforgettable. And that is a really, really cool thing to be able to be a part of every single day. Having a creative outlet to showcase my skill set is super, super cool. I've been cooking for a really long time. I love to do it because it is, at this point, it's a part of who I am as a person, but it has always been a creative outlet for me to make things and put them out there for people to experience themselves. That coupled with great feedback, it's just extremely rewarding.
Tessa, can you talk a little bit about your education? I'm guessing that was a pretty fantastic experience, the Cordon Bleu School in Chicago. Can you speak a little bit about that? Did you do some research? Did you go and visit? How did you learn about that program?
Well, no, I didn't do too much research. I knew that, so the Cordon Bleu is one of the top accredited culinary schools in the United States and in the world, actually. So they're worldwide. And Chicago was the closest one to home. I'm really close with my family, so I wanted to be able to easily make it home when I had the time to do so. But the way it happened was I don't know, I kind of got a wild hair and made a call to the admissions office there and we just kind of moved forward with it. And then I told my mom after the fact, and she was a little starstruck that I was moving so far away. But we moved all of my stuff to Chicago. And our, like I said, our culinary program was 5 days a week. And I went to school from, I think it's been a while now, 6 to 2 or 6 to 3 every day. And then from that point, it gave me a little bit of a break before I had to report to my job as a line cook at a hotel in downtown Chicago. So my days were very, very full. I was very much committed to this industry and very passionate about it. And so I spent a lot of my time doing internships in the culinary world, are sometimes referred to as stages. That word is spelled like the word stage. It's short for stagiaire, which is a French word that means intern. And typically what you can do is you can call a restaurant or a hotel and ask if they are doing any stages. And what that means is that you work a shift or two for free, and in return, you gain the experience. Not only is it a great way to learn new skills that you didn't have before, but you get a firsthand look inside of other people's kitchens. It's also a great way for you to see whether or not it's the kind of place that you would want to work. There are all different sizes and shapes and styles of kitchens. There are some that I probably wouldn't want to work in. There are some that I would love to work in. It's a great opportunity to actually get some hands-on experience before you fully commit to a job in a facility. So it's really, really cool. I was able to do, I think, a total of 3 of those during the year that I was in culinary school. And 2 of those 3 stages led to me accepting a job offer. And then the other one, I politely declined one. So just didn't really seem like a good fit for me. So it's a really cool experience. And it's not just for people at the intern level. Right before I took this job, I actually got this job offer when I was on a week-long stage in Colorado, in Denver. I was invited out there by the executive chef of a restaurant group. He has currently, I think he has 6 or 7 different restaurants in the Denver area. And what we did is we worked for free in each one. And then we were fed in return. So not only did I get to learn how to prepare all this awesome food and learn new techniques, but we also got to taste everything, which was really, really cool. So yeah, we did that for like 5 days. So it's not something that's just for, I mean, at that time, so 2 years ago, I would have been 14 years into this industry. I've been doing this for 14 years and still craving new experiences and, new skills, because one of the coolest parts about what I do is that you'll never learn it all. You'll never know it all. There's always something to learn. And as I've gotten a little bit older, one of the things that I like to do is to, I refer to it as attacking a skill set that I don't feel very confident in, and just really honing my skills until I am confident in it. And it's almost like a little checklist. And my sous chef and we have a list that stays on my desk of things that we have never done before, and things that we've always wanted to do. And actually the next thing on his list is house-made pasta, like homemade pasta, because he's never done that, but I have. So, I get to teach all the time as well. So if I have knowledge, I can share it with the people that work for me and work with me. And that's another awesome thing about my job too, is that I love to teach. And there are just endless opportunities for me to do that. So.
Love to hear that, lifelong learner. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Not to mention that sounds delicious that it's getting close to lunchtime, right?
Well, and one thing, I mean, there's lots of different pieces that you just shared that I think are so important. One thing that I always talk to students about is exactly what you just said, Chef. Okay, I want to be a chef, but there are so many different kinds of kitchens out there. So no matter what field you're looking at, you have to remember that the environment is going to be completely different depending on where you go. So you should figure out what you want to be or what pathway you want to go into. And then once you feel like, yes, this is really what I want to do, then you do go out there and you explore and you try different places, because the culture is going to be so different at different places. Some places might be really, really fast paced and you may not be prepared for that, while others will be really much slower and they may have, lulls and go up and down. And every place has a different, no matter what kind of career you go into, every business functions differently. So it's so important to go out and really explore that. So thank you for mentioning that. And yes, the food, I mean, I don't know about all of you, but I'm a foodie, like feed me. So this career here sounds amazing. Now, I myself cannot cook, but I will eat anything that you put in front of me. So that's awesome. And I love the thought of, you're not good at a certain skill. So you want to, keep trying at it, or gain more composure and exposure to that skill. And on that, then what kind of skills do you think are needed in this kind of field?
Well, let me see here. Sorry, I put together a ton of notes because I usually forget to talk about really important stuff when I'm just off the cuff. So probably one of the biggest things in a position like mine specifically is that, well, pretty much in food and beverage period, you've got to be able to work really well under pressure and do so while working with others on your team. And that can look different for a lot of different people. But it's really just about knowing yourself and knowing what kind of outlet you need to be able to manage that pressure. We're all human, we're all different. And on the same note, we're all different. Not only am I'm a chef and I cook food, and I'm responsible for that, but the bigger part of my job that I don't really think a lot of people realize is that I'm a manager of other people. I am the leader of a team. And with that, you really got to be able to get to know all the different individuals that work for you and work with you, and be able to develop a relationship with them that is, I've got to be able to speak to them the way that they need to hear it, and actually have a relationship with them in order to be a good manager. And I think that that's a part of management that not enough people talk about. But it's extremely important, because I can't do what I do if the people that work for me aren't there to do their jobs and support me while they're doing them. And I never underestimate the power that they bring to our team, whether they are a dish steward or a high-level line cook or my sous chef, for example. It really is it's a close-knit team setting when you work in a kitchen. And I've got to know that everybody else has got my back just like I have theirs. There's a ton of trust involved in a relationship like that, which is really cool. And, like I mentioned before, I work a lot of hours. I'm with these individuals a lot more than I am my own family. And you kind of just develop your own work family, and it's a really cool experience. Time management is another skill that's extremely important. I've got a list of things to do every single day that is specific to just me, not my department. But then also we have events. If a wedding is supposed to be served at 6 o'clock on the dot, there's not a whole lot of room for error. I can't be late to somebody else's wedding when I'm the one who has all the food in tow. So doesn't really make people too happy. So being able to effectively manage your time, being able to effectively communicate with the people that you work with is super important. We're managing together a lot of very small details. It's no fun at all to be heading upstairs with all the food for a 400-person wedding and realizing that you forgot the micro radish that's supposed to be the garnish for every single plate. So we work with a series of checklists and things like that to make sure that we're on top of our game and always super prepared. And then there are other things too, more specific to food and cooking. Knowledge of safety and sanitation procedures. Obviously I would need to be able to cut things with a knife without chopping my fingers off, and like little things like that. Things that kind of come with the experience, in order to be able to develop new menus and menu items. Having a somewhat developed palate is necessary. I've gotten to the point now where I can create dishes without having tasted anything, because your sense of taste and smell is so strongly associated with your memory, that when you really fine tune those skills, you can piece things together without having tasted any of them. So that's really cool.
So can I interrupt you just for a quick second, Tessa? I'm sorry. I just want to ask the students that are on, do you ladies and gentlemen know if you have an interest particularly in culinary or hospitality, or maybe both? You can put it in the chat if you want, or you can certainly unmute and share with us. The reason I'm asking is we offer both programs, and if this is something you have an interest in, what Tessa's saying sounds really exciting to you. Okay, I got a couple, we could do both. We could bring you down for a visit to our campuses, both in Muscatine and our Bettendorf facility. And I always let students know this because I can't do it justice. Like, I want you, as Tessa has described, I want you to see our beautiful, cool kitchen. I want you to see the labs. I want you to see the state-of-the-art culinary kitchen that you can be cooking in and learning from. The other thing is, like you say, the hospitality, they go obviously hand in hand. Okay, I got a couple that are saying both. Fantastic. So if that's something you guys, and then Elise Culinary, thank you. So we could certainly bring you in, and you could, like I said, see Tessa's facility. We work closely with the Merrill, and you could ask questions and find out the things that they do. Same thing at the Bettendorf campus would be closer for you. We could bring you to the Scott campus and setting that up. So that sounds fantastic, Lori. I think that would be great because it's so beneficial to see in person. Wouldn't you agree, Tessa?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. One of my favorite things is to do student tours here at our property. It makes it really easy because I'm super proud of where I work and what I do. And I love sharing it with others. And, the kitchen that we work in is exceptionally small in comparison to the different areas that we service. And that's just something that I'm really proud of because it takes a lot of organization and a lot of really good people working together to make that happen so flawlessly all the time. So it's really, really cool.
So a couple other things just for to share with you guys as far as, again, programs. Tessa talked about like internship or apprenticeships. We have the apprenticeship where you would get assigned to a restaurant or country club. And the wonderful thing a lot of students love about that is you get paid while you are working. So learn as you earn as you learn. But we also have shorter term programs within our culinary program. So like you could come and hang out with us for a short time and get a baking certificate. You love to bake. A lot of really great options along with staying for the full 3 years for that apprenticeship. And I always say this, we hope that you stay around here and cook for us. But again, you could go like Tessa did, where she went for school to Chicago. There are great sous chef jobs and baking opportunities, I'm guessing, all over. So this is definitely a field where there are hotels all over. There are wonderful restaurants and country clubs all over that you would have a lot of really great, wonderful job experiences once you get some schooling and training as well.
No doubt. One of the things that I always joke about is that I have a ton of job security in what I do. Because people always have to eat all the time. And there are restaurants everywhere. So in every corner of the world, there are restaurants and kitchens that I could work in. So, the world has always, I've stayed really close to home, but I've never needed to if I wanted to. So there's endless opportunity out there.
Absolutely. So Tessa, what could you tell us is one of the favorite parts of your job and maybe one of the more challenging? I know you talked about hours and certainly comfy shoes being on your feet is a huge one, I'm guessing, but what are some things that you really love and then some things that, oh gosh, this can be challenging or difficult?
Well, things that I love, you know, I love to serve people. I love to cook, which is kind of a prerequisite. So I love the hands-on kind of work that I do. I've always loved to work that way, and I've always loved to learn that way. So I know it was mentioned right before we got started that I graduated from culinary school with honors. That is not the same story that my high school career tells. So I had a very difficult time staying focused in class, especially when there were classes that I didn't feel particularly interested in. My teachers my entire life said, "You're really smart, but you just don't put forth the effort." It's one of those things that showed up constantly in the little notes, like in kindergarten, that they would send home. And it was kind of it was a recurring thing all the way through high school. And then once I got to the point where I just really set my sights on what I wanted to do, everything else happened really organically. So it's one of those things that, you know, you kind of need to be a self-starter to be successful in a career path like mine. You know, I don't have somebody coming up to me every day saying, okay, I need you to get this done and this done and this done. It's up to me to do that. And that kind of comes back to just staying organized all the time. One of my biggest weaknesses is that I have to have a list or else I will forget. So we constantly are making lists for each other. I forgot what your question was. Things I like and things I don't like. I just got sidetracked. So things that I don't like. It's a hard question to answer. Work-life balance is hard sometimes, if I can be honest. You know, with just working so much and always having things to do, it's hard to kind of unplug when I'm not at work anymore. Throughout my career, it's one thing that I used to struggle with a lot more than I do now. But I put a lot more effort not only into my own mental health, but also like making the time that I have away from work most effective for me. It's made a huge difference in my life. You know, the pandemic in 2020 didn't help at all. But there's always an opportunity to learn something no matter how hard things look. So this past year has been full of great experiences. It's really hard to come up with things I don't like about my job, which I think is a good sign.
I was going to say that's a good thing. That means you're in the right spot, right?
Yeah.
So can I ask the students that are on, and you can give me a thumbs up if you like, do you currently have a family member or someone that is in this field that kind of has sparked your interest or made you be interested in this field? That someone that's currently in culinary or hospitality? CJ says no. Elise says no. So this is just something you guys just have an interest in, or maybe you're like Tessa, you like to bake, or you like to cook. Drew, you have someone in your family? I'm just curious. Okay. Sometimes that's kind of where, you know, it starts, or someone, oh gosh, my parent does this or a family member does this, and it makes you have an interest and want to follow suit. So I was just curious. So do you guys have any questions that you'd like to ask of Tessa? You can certainly put them in the chat. Kaylee, thank you for sharing that. Grandma loves to bake. That's awesome. You guys have specific questions you'd like to ask of Tessa, things about the job? I always say you don't know what you don't know. So there's no silly or dumb questions. Tessa is very open and sharing a lot about the profession. So feel free to ask. You can certainly unmute, or you can absolutely put it in the chat and we can ask Tessa.
So how about, have any of you watched those cooking shows? Like, does that get you interested? And maybe Chef Tessa can tell us a little bit about if that's real life. Oh, Drew says yes. Okay, cooking shows. So would you be brave enough to go on a cooking show, Chef Tessa?
Would I be brave enough? If it was one of those black box challenges where you have a time limit, I would probably say no. That's the kind of pressure that I don't work well under. And I know enough about myself to know that. We actually did a 6-week course where every single day, that's what it was. It was black box every day. And you had no idea what you were walking into and had to be ready for anything. And there's obviously always a time limit. But that experience made me realize that that is not my favorite thing to do. I like to have a plan and then execute that plan. So, but I also got hooked at a young age from watching things on television. I was younger, man, I remember coming home from like kindergarten or first grade, and typically like most kids will throw cartoons on TV. And around that age is where I started to watch Emeril Lagasse when I would get out of school. And he actually is what got me super interested in doing this for a living when I was very, very young. So I also got hooked from the tube. And then I noticed that somebody said that Kaylee said that her grandma loved to bake. So of all the people in my family, my grandmother is the best cook. So my mom always cooks, but she will openly admit that she's not a good cook. My grandmother is a great cook, and she has these really deep Southern roots to her cooking because that's where our family came from. So I've actually been able to kind of make a connection to my family's history through that avenue, which has been really, really cool.
That is awesome. We have a star among us that might have his own cooking show soon. It sounds like Drew makes some awesome cheesecakes that I need to look into this side business, because again, that sounds delicious. I need to learn more about that, Drew. Good for you.
That's awesome. You can
And
do cheesecakes for me because I don't like to do pastries.
and Kaylee says that her grandmother makes everything homemade from Germany.
Oh, wow.
So that, I mean, obviously food is international. It's worldwide, and that brings a lot of people together because of what everybody likes to eat, right? And usually any kind of event you go to, there's some form of food that's associated. So Chef Tessa, what is your favorite dish to make, or what is your favorite style to cook for?
This is still like one of the hardest questions to answer because I just love so many different things. But I was classically French trained when I went to culinary school. So I went to a French cooking school, which was especially difficult because I knew like no French, had to learn everything. So my techniques are based in French cookery, but I've always been extremely interested in both Mexican or Spanish and Italian cooking. So there are quite a few different techniques that I usually call it stealing. I've stolen from other cuisines and kind of brought together to give me my own style. You may recall earlier that I described Maxwell's, our restaurant, as a new American restaurant. The term new American is a kind of restaurant that essentially doesn't have to stick with one type of cuisine. So I did that on purpose. So essentially I have this wide open canvas that I can do whatever I want. Whereas like if I were to be running a Mexican restaurant, it'd be super hard to throw, homemade pasta on the menu because it wouldn't really make sense. So we went with something that was very open as far as limitations. And it allows me to do things like, say, I'm trying to think of an example of something I recently taught myself how to do. There's a Mexican dish called guisado. It's a braised meat filling that is typically used for like tacos and things of that sort. Never made it before, had it in restaurants. I loved it and wanted to teach myself how to do it. So we had that on the menu for a short period of time, even though we're not a Mexican restaurant. So it allows for a lot of creative freedom, which is super cool.
I was gonna say, it sounds like you have a lot of creativity and not afraid to try something, which is phenomenal for those of us who don't have these skills. But I mean, it sounds like you are really creative and willing to be like a self-starter, to like not be afraid to try something new and different. I love that. Like you say, you love creating for others. So I see like artistic in there. I see a lot of just opportunities to try and do new and different things, which I'm guessing, like you say, trial and error. Okay, it didn't work out, I'm going to do something different. But that's amazing that I'm culinarily challenged. So I'm intrigued. I am intrigued. I watch like Guy Fieri shows, like Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. I love like Rachel Ray. I'll watch them, but I need to just try and emulate it. But I love your enthusiasm and willingness to say, I'm going to give it a shot, because it sounds like you guys are all kind of that way, maybe hands-on learners like Tessa spoke about earlier. So what a great program for you guys to be in, to try and do these different things and create for other people and or yourself. You guys have spoke about family members. Sounds like this is a good fit for a lot of you guys. That's wonderful.
One other thing that I think I'd like to add to that is that, you know, a lot of things are about trial and error. And throughout my career, one of the biggest things that I've seen hold not only other people, but also myself back, is being scared to fail. Being scared to talk about what maybe, I wouldn't call them weaknesses, but maybe areas where you could develop your strengths. You know, when you're intimidated or just too scared to reach out and be honest about those things, it's hard to grow. One of the most recent examples that I can think of in my life is when we wrote that budget for 2021. So I'm very much like a right-brained individual. I like to do things with my hands. I like to do creative things. I like to read and write and speak, and all those things I'm really kind of naturally good at. But then when it comes to numbers, like this thing right here I couldn't do my job without this beautiful thing right here. Mental math is my enemy. I've always struggled with numbers. It just takes a little bit extra for me to comprehend things when we're talking about numbers versus words. And when we went into this budget, the budget writing process, my boss is our general manager here on our property. And I said, we actually had a one-on-one. And part of our one-on-one is where he says, is there something that you need from me that I'm not already giving to you? Which is an awesome way to start any sort of one-on-one. I do the same thing now. But my answer to that was, you know, I'm a little bit intimidated with this budget coming up. It's my first budget I've ever written. I struggle with numbers. I might need a little bit of extra help from you. Whereas a lot of other situations, I just take a project and run and complete it, and I don't need help. And he came back months later. This is after the budget's been done. It's been finalized. It's been approved by our ownership. And he pulled me aside and he told me that that was one of the coolest things that he's ever seen in his whole career. And my GM is like 73. So he's been doing this for a super long time. And he said, it's just so cool to see somebody say, like, this is a weakness of mine. I'm going to need some help to get better at it. And then put forth the work to do it. And I mean, it sounds kind of cliche, but like you really can develop your own strengths if you put your mind to it. But I think that a lot of people just hold themselves back because they're too scared to just say those words like, I need help. You know, I'm not very good at this. There's tons of things I'm not good at. So.
But I love that. That's so important that we talked about communication. Okay, being a good boss, being a good learner, being a good leader. Okay, I need help in this regard. You know, Drew's strong in this, CJ's strong in this, Kaylee excels in this. I struggle with this. Elise is good at that. Like you look at, we all have different strengths and weaknesses. And I think that's huge, especially in this line of work. You spoke earlier, Tessa, about teamwork. Oh my gosh, so important. If you have a wedding or something goes wrong and it's, okay, we got to do a plan B because this has to happen. So it's all about, you know, dealing and working with each other's strengths and working together. And getting to that end result and product for the customer. So I think that's huge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There are, I think a lot of people also assume that because I'm the executive chef at this hotel that, you know, all these different cooking techniques and things like that, that I'm the best at all of them. And that's not true at all. I have significantly more experience than my sous chef does, but there are things that he does way better than me. He has strengths that I don't have. And so rather than combat that in any way, we always play those kinds of strengths and weaknesses to our benefit when we're structuring our team. So we have, you know, tons of, you know, not tons, we're hiring, but we have all these different line cooks on our team, and they all have different strengths and weaknesses. So, you know, when it comes time to, you know, Friday, Saturday night, we know we're going to have a rockin' dinner service. You know, part of the conversation is, okay, who's working where? And sometimes, like when we just need to handle business, we put everybody on the stations that they're the strongest at, for a good reason. But then also when we have time, we purposely change things. So part of my one-on-ones with my team involve a conversation about like, what areas do you want to show growth in the next time, by the next time that we talk? And it's every 3 months that we do like a quarterly one-on-one. We try and focus on developing those skills in real time. I mean, we're here, we've got a job to do. I don't have the opportunity often to just like set up a classroom style setting for the people that work for me, but we incorporate that either in a group setting or one-on-one right on the job. So it's a super cool experience to be able to offer to the individuals that work in my kitchen. So definitely another pro to what I do for a living, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I think we need to be aware of everybody's time. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Chef Tessa, thank you so much for the invaluable information. We appreciate your time this morning. I look forward to seeing you all, hopefully for a tour of our facilities. Sounds like you guys are in the great profession. We got some bakers and culinary people already among us. So I think you guys will be great in this field. But thank you for joining us this morning, and reach out if we can help you in any way. So have a great day, you guys. Thanks for tuning in with us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tessa. Great info.
Thank you.
I want to come down for a visit.
Please do.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to do that. I've not been to the property, so I'm going to schedule a visit.
It's amazing. And let me tell you, the Brussels sprouts. Now, some people don't like veggies, but the Brussels sprouts are high for.
Thank you.
Love it. Thank you guys for tuning in with us. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, Tessa.
Of course. Thank you.